We've all been there, haven't we?
Yeah.
That moment, a brilliant idea strikes, you can almost feel the market need, the problem just sitting there waiting for your solution. It's this amazing rush.
Oh, yeah.
But then, pretty quickly sometimes, that excitement can bump up against this, well, this really daunting question. How on earth do I actually build this thing?
Right. The what now moment.
Exactly. So today, we're doing a deep dive into the minimum viable product, the MVP. Now, it's a term you hear a lot in tech startup circles, but as we'll unpack, it's really this powerful mindset. It's for anyone looking to learn fast and actually bring an idea to life,
Yeah. Whether that's an app or, a new project at work, maybe even something personal.
for sure. Our mission here is to figure out how to get from that initial spark to something tangible, something focused on learning, and do it quickly, efficiently. We're drawing heavily from your first MVP, a founder's roadmap to building lean and learning fast.
And what's really insightful about the MVP concept, particularly how the source lays it out, is how it just flips the script on our usual idea of a finished product.
How so?
Well, it's not aiming for perfection right out of the gate. It's actually about embracing purposeful imperfection.
Hmm.
And honestly, it's more than just saving time. It's a big psychological shift for founders.
Okay.
It means letting go of that ego, that need for the perfect first impression, which, let's be honest, often stops people from launching anything at all. This roadmap gives some really clear, actionable steps for defining, building, and then iterating.
Okay, let's unpack this idea of an MVP then, because like you said, it sounds like a real game changer for anyone trying to bring an idea to life.
It really is.
So maybe we should tackle a common misunderstanding first. I hear minimum viable product, and sometimes my first thought is, well, barely functional, or maybe a cheap version of my grand vision, but that's missing the point, isn't it?
Completely missing the point, yeah.
Yeah.
The source is super clear on this. An MVP isn't supposed to be a lesser product. It's a strategic tool. It's designed for, and this is the key phrase, maximum learning with minimum effort.
Maximum learning, minimum effort. I like that.
Its real superpower, really, is in de-risking your idea. It lets you test your biggest assumptions out there in the real world before you sink a huge amount of time, energy, maybe even cash, into something that might just fall flat.
Ah, okay. That's where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Especially if you're sitting on an idea, maybe feeling a bit nervous about it.
Totally.
Instead of just guessing for months, maybe even years, about what people might want, the MVP just cuts straight to finding out.
Precisely. And this approach, it also massively speeds up your time to market. You get something functional into actual users' hands way faster.
Which must save resources too.
Oh, absolutely. Huge resource efficiency. You save time, you save money, because you're focusing only on what is absolutely essential right now. And maybe the most critical part, it becomes this sort of feedback magnet.
Feedback magnet, okay.
Yeah, you've got something real people can touch, use, react to, and that generates these incredibly valuable insights that, honestly, you just can't get from sitting around a whiteboard brainstorming.
Okay, so it's less like trying to build a tiny version of the Titanic, fully fitted out,
Right.
and more like launching a really sturdy, seaworthy rowboat.
Yeah.
You just want to see if people even want to cross the lake and what problems they hit on that first short trip.
Perfect analogy. Exactly. And that raises a really important question. If the goal is learning, how do you make sure your little robo, your MVP, is actually designed to learn the right things?
Yeah, good point.
The source really hammers this home. Clarity is everything. Your MVP needs to solve, quote, one core problem for one specific user segment brilliantly.
One core problem, one user segment. That sounds focused.
Extremely focused. It helps you cut through all that noise, the endless list of features you could build.
Okay, so how does the roadmap actually guide us to nail down that one core problem and figure out the absolute minimum solution?
Right, so you start by going back to your early validation work. Really pinpoint. Identify the single most painful problem that your product is trying to solve. Just one.
The most painful one.
The most painful, yeah. Once you've got that crystal clear, then you brainstorm the minimum solution. What's the absolute smallest set of features you need to genuinely take away that specific pain and deliver that core value? The article says, pretty vividly, strip away everything else, fancy animations, extra features, nice to haves, as if your budget literally evaporated overnight.
Wow, okay.
Hmm.
That's a powerful mental image. Can you give us a concrete example? Make it really clear.
Sure. Let's take a meal delivery app. The real MVP isn't about, say, Loyalty programs or user reviews or complex filters.
Right, all the extras.
Exactly. As the source points out, the core, the absolute essence, is just letting someone order a meal and receive it. That's it. That's the value.
Simple.
Deceptively simple, maybe. Once you've got that, then you define your hypothesis. What do you actually expect to learn from this minimal version? For example, we believe users will value the convenience of feature X enough to pay Y price for this delivery.
Ah, okay. So you're framing it as an experiment right from the start.
Precisely. It ties everything back to that learning objective.
This really hammers home the lean part of it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Focusing your energy on that one critical function. But, okay, once you define that lean core, the big question for a lot of people is going to be, right, how do I build this? Do I need a huge team, years of coding? What does the source say about actually, making it happen, especially with modern tools?
Yeah, and just connecting that back, that disciplined focus is what stops that scope creep monster,
Yeah.
The thing that kills so many projects. It makes sure every bit of effort links back to testing an assumption.
Makes sense.
And the really exciting part, as the source highlights, is no, you absolutely do not need a massive development team for your first MVP. These modern tools offer incredible speed and agility. They've basically democratized development for founders.
It sounds like these tools are kind of the secret sauce then, for getting your idea out there without needing to become a coding expert overnight.
Pretty much, yeah.
What's amazing is how accessible that makes the whole thing.
It really is. The source breaks down a few key types of tools that help. First, you've got no-code platforms.
Okay.
These are brilliant for non-technical founders. You're using drag-and-drop interfaces, visual builders, to create functional web or mobile apps without writing any code at all. Really good for quick prototypes, validating user flows.
Wow, no code at all.
Yeah. Then you have low-code platforms. These sort of bridge the gap. They have the visual builders too, but they give you the flexibility to add bits of custom code if you need it for, say, more complex logic or specific integrations.
So a bit more power if you need it.
Exactly. And maybe most importantly, the source emphasizes leveraging APIs and integrations. Think of an API like a ready-made building block.
Right.
So instead of building, say, a whole payment system from scratch, which is incredibly complex, you just plug into an existing service like Stripe using their API. Instantly, you've got secure payment functionality.
Ah, I see. Like using pre-built components.
Precisely. Same goes for adding maps, communication tools, even complex AI features. You're leveraging existing infrastructure. And this means you, the founder, can focus on your unique value, not on reinventing the wheel. Saves huge amounts of time and money.
That makes a massive difference. So you've built this lean, focused MVP using these tools. You've launched it. What happens next? Is that it? Job done.
No, not even close. Far from the finish line. The source is really emphatic about this. An MVP is not a finished product. It's the start of a cycle. It's all about embracing the build, measure, learn philosophy.
Okay, build, measure, learn. Let's break that down. How does that loop actually work?
Right. So first you build your MVP, that simplest version, delivering the core value. We've covered that.
Yeah.
Then, crucially, you measure how users interact with it.
Okay, tracking things.
Tracking, yes, but it's more than just clicks. It's about understanding the why. Are people dropping off at checkout because the price is wrong, or is the button just confusing? The measure phase is like detective work.
Looking for clues.
Exactly. You're looking at your analytics, maybe using tools like heat maps to see where people click, session recordings even, understanding what features get used, where people get stuck, why they get stuck. Then finally, you learn. You take all that data, all that feedback, and you analyze it.
What did we find out?
Yeah. What new things did we learn about what users actually need? Were our initial assumptions right or wrong?
Yeah.
Did we get closer to product market fit? And those learnings directly feed into the next iteration, the next version of your product. You make it better.
So it really is like a constant experiment. You put something out, listen really carefully, and then tweak it based on actual data, not just what you think people want.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And a massive part of that listening carefully is actively going out and getting feedback, right?
Yeah, makes sense. You need that input.
Definitely. Your MVP is designed to be that feedback magnet, remember? So you need to proactively collect that feedback. Talk to your users directly after they've used it. Understand their experience, what frustrated them, what they wished it could do.
Actually talk to them.
Yes. And use simple surveys, maybe in-app feedback forms for quick responses. Observational testing can be amazing too, just watching someone use your product, with their permission obviously. Even basic A/B testing, trying out 2 versions of a small feature to see which performs better.
And it's not just about getting any feedback, right? it matters who you get it from.
Spot on. The source really stresses focusing your feedback efforts on your ideal users, the specific segment you defined earlier,
Why is that so important?
because that ensures you're solving the right problems for the right people. You avoid getting pulled in a million directions by feedback that isn't relevant to your core target. And what's really fascinating about this whole loop, this whole process, it requires a certain humility, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, it's about being genuinely willing to be wrong, to let the cold, hard data and what your users actually do guide you, rather than sticking rigidly to your initial vision or assumptions. That's how you find that path to real product market fit.
That's a great point. Humility and data. Okay, so it's clear the MVP isn't the end goal. It's like you said, a springboard. Once it validates your core hypothesis, as the source puts it, and you start finding that initial fit,
Hmm.
what comes next? What does the roadmap say about life after the successful MVP?
Right. So once your MVP has done its job and proven that core value proposition, the source outlines a clear transition. The key next steps usually involve things like securing more early users, refining your feature set based on what you learned, and then starting to scale your infrastructure.
Okay, so building on that foundation.
Exactly. Securing users becomes easier because your MVP data tells you who they are and what pain point resonated. Refining features isn't guesswork anymore. It's driven by how people actually use the MVP, what they loved, what they ignored, where they struggled. And scaling your tech only happens after you validated real demand, so you're building on solid ground. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, that whole MVP process, it builds this crucial muscle for continuous innovation. It teaches founders or anyone using the approach how to adapt, how to evolve, how to stay agile. And that's just critical for any kind of sustainable growth.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into the power of the minimum viable product. We've really seen how it's this strategic learning tool. It's
Yeah.
laser focused on solving one core problem first.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned it's actually buildable with surprisingly accessible tools these days, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And critically, it's not a one-off. It's the start of this continuous cycle. Build, measure, learn. All of it designed to de-risk your big ideas and to really speed up that journey from just a spark to something real and impactful.
That sums it up perfectly.
So, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Whether you're dreaming about building an app, or maybe launching a new initiative at work, or even just tackling a big personal project, think about this. What's your absolute minimum viable next step? What's the smallest, fastest thing you could do right now to test your core assumption and start learning without feeling like you have to build that entire perfect dream product first?